whoever you are, wherever you are, hope you are blessed and doing safe. Ladies and gentlemen, greetings, family. Of course, I'm tuning in. You see me without the glasses off today, but if you're looking for some opportunities, particular advertisement opportunities, then look no further at the link at the bottom to my email address. You can hit me up for advertisement opportunities. We are supporting and promoting your businesses here on this channel. You can also, if you would like to donate and subscribe to our Patreon, a link is at the bottom as well. So you have multiple ways in which you can advertise with the platform by emailing me when we go on do our live stream. You also have access to premium content, those that want to see premium content that you will not find here on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, as I am suspended probably by now. You guys can check out the Patreon at link at the bottom. But advertisement opportunities, definitely email me, gavin.grich1@gmail.com for rates. And for the Patreon, it is the same as the YouTube channel. It is channel gboot2786. All right, I'll holla. Peace.
Hi, I'm attorney Gavin Richard. Check out my latest book, The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania versus William H. Cosby Jr., The Destruction of Due Process in America. For approximately 2 years now, I have gone on a painstaking quest to investigate the rise and fall of an American icon, Bill Cosby. In the mid-1980s, there was not a star that was higher than Cosby. Advertisements with Coca-Cola, Jello, Kodak, along with the #1 television show for 5 straight years in a row on Thursday nights. It was must-see TV on NBC. Cosby resurrected the genre of the traditional family sitcom that was once thought dead by television critics. He did this as a Black American with an all-Black cast and showed mainstream network executives in white America that it was possible to be successful without showing the worst in people. He also demonstrated the power that television had, as it can make younger people dream to be the best that they can be. However, like many celebrity stars, unfortunately, they all come crashing down, sometimes by their own fault, others not so much. In this book, I attempted to highlight certain things. We go in depth into both of his trials in 2017 and 2018, respectively. What if I told you that these criminal trials were politically motivated by an overzealous district attorney? Will you also be shocked to learn that attacks on Mr. Cosby did not start in 2014, but also in the 90s, not long after his attempted quest to purchase a major network? From where did all of these allegations of sexual misconduct come from? Were the accusers telling the truth? In the 2 years of research, with some help from others interested in learning the truth and facts about this case, we discussed both the legal reasons why his prosecution and trial were illegal, unwarranted, and also the possible personal motives as to why this may have occurred. Most importantly, we warn about the dangers of prejudice and why trial by social media, or mainstream media rather, should never be the norm. All this and more in The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania versus William H. Cosby Jr., The Destruction of Due Process in America. Available on Amazon this fall in Kindle and paperback format. Ho, ho, ho. This is your legal Santa, Gavin Richard, wishing you all a very Merry Christmas and a safe and prosperous New Year. The law offices of Gavin M. Richard, going the distance so that justice may be served.
Wherever you are, wherever you are, I hope you are blessed and doing safe. The place to be is right here with me. It's the channel GBoot2786 and on Gavin Richard, my backup YouTube channel, as well as Twitter on Periscope at GavinRich2786. Ladies and gentlemen, Apparently, I have this also streaming live on my Facebook page, Gavin Richard, but it is saying that I don't know what they're doing up there on Facebook, but apparently they are not. It's not going live here. I don't know. Don't care about that. I do care about that rather. So I'm a little trying to find out what's going on with this, but it's not allowing me to go live on there. So hold on 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. I'll work on that. But this is the last Thursday of 2021. And I am joined, of course, by the man, the author of The Man Crisis, uh, entrepreneur extraordinaire, Shawn James. Shawn, good evening.
Good evening, Gavin. How are you?
I'm doing fine, my brother. Tonight, we are discussing the best of 2021. It's a countdown of all the hottest topics I believe that transpired this year. And we'll be getting into that, Shawn. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, if you have comments, leave them. If there's something you don't agree with the order, just tell me what your thoughts are. And I think it's going to be a great show, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, you all can support Shawn by going to his Amazon page and looking up and buying books such as the following. We have Stop Simping in Cyberspace, that's on Amazon. We also have the John Haynes series, which is John Haynes, The Man with Nothing to Lose. Also, we have, that's his Amazon link if you want to go there. So please support our brother. Buy some of his books before the end of 2021. Ladies and gentlemen, The Man Crisis is a good read. Of course, you can support me if you go to NarniesCreoleBlends.com. That is the website for our Creole seasoning blends, ladies and gentlemen. Try it on chicken, meat, or fish. Narnies goes great with every dish. You will enjoy that. Order some today. I don't know if Shawn ordered. Shawn, I don't know if you ordered yours.
I did put in an order for one.
Oh, I didn't see it. I'll have to look at
I put it on PayPal.
It's on PayPal?
Yeah.
You ordered it through the you ordered
Through
it
the
through the
website.
website? Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna have to double check and look into that. I didn't see the name. I definitely, when I get order slips, and just as a courtesy to everybody, I immediately go and put that in the mail for people. So I certainly don't want a customer disappointed with anything. Yeah, it didn't come. Okay, well, I'll have to talk to you about it a little later because I'm looking on the order slip. But okay, nevertheless, Shawn, anybody else, you can go here and get some seasoning blends. Check it out, y'all. We got a lot of people in the back. Let's see. I'm trying to. I don't know what Facebook is doing with my shit. I keep getting these I'm sorry, everybody. I keep getting these notifications about it being an error, and I'm seeing all of this stuff. So now it's not even allowing me to put it on Facebook. So I think they're doing something to the channel. That's my opinion. But we're going to go ahead and move this thing forward, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to support me as well, you can go to Spotify right now and check out Video Soul. Video Soul, of course, is my latest composition. Of course, I have a few more that I'm getting ready to drop soon that I've been working on. So you can check out and download Video Soul, ladies and gentlemen. That's available on Spotify. It's also available on Amazon and Apple. You can purchase those. And finally, of course, our theme song, which is always available, is Gotta Get On Up, and you can see right there. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's get this party started. We'll be back in a few clicks.
Girl, come on. Gotta dance to the beat, because on the dance floor is where we'll meet. Show me what you got. Gotta feel the groove.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on the.
Right now the party's wasted. There's nothing much to do. But once the groove gets started, tell me, what do you have to lose? Just look into my eyes, girl, as we glide across the room. And what to my surprise now, the beat takes hold of you. Now if you're feeling like I'm feeling, so come on baby, let's start dealing. Time to get this party started. Ain't no time for the broken hearted. When the rhythm takes hold of you, there's only one thing left to do. Cause the beat is really grooving. Time to get your body moving. Gotta get on up and move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, it's time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up.
Tell the DJ play the whispers. Rock steady in the mood. Put on earth, wind, and fire. Tonight we're gonna groove. Show me how you do the four corners. Electric slide or two. Hit the bus stop or do the bunny hop, baby. It's really up to you. Now if you're feeling like I'm feeling, so come on baby, let's start dealing. Time to get this party started. Ain't no time for the broken hearted. When the rhythm takes hold of you, there's only one thing left to do. Cause the beat is really grooving. Time to get your body moving. Gotta get on up and move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, it's time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up.
Now 2020 hasn't been the best year of all times. We've been dealing with death, the pandemic, racism, bad policing, and all the bad rhymes. But like Uncle Snoop once said, if you breathe and you achieve. And so if you're ready, I need you all to get on up. Are you ready? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Get your butt on the dance floor. 5 and 6 and 7, 8. This jam we appreciate. We're gonna slide and step on the beat. On the dance floor is where we'll be.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up
And move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, it's time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up.
Oh, baby, yeah, gotta get on up. Come on, baby, gotta get on up. Baby.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Gavin Richard Presents here on channel G2786. It is the last Thursday of 2021, ladies and gentlemen, December 30th. Just to think, man, the year has gone by so fast. We've had a lot of moments, a lot of ups and downs, heartbreaks and heartaches, and all of that other aching stuff that gets you, that's hurting your body, even if you took that jab. But ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be discussing some of those topics, or at least 10 of them, that have been big this past year of 2021. And we're getting ready to enter into 2020. It is approximately less than, we have essentially 27 and a half hours left until the new year. Tomorrow, of course, December 31st. So I want to ask you, what are you doing New Year's Eve? You could all put in the chat, what are your plans? And also tonight, of course, is the best of 2021 countdown, December 30th. Now, when I say the best of, I should clarify the best topics of 2021 that will be going. And let's bring in our brother, Shawn James, the author of The Man Crisis, as well as the John Haynes series, The Man with Nothing to Lose. Shawn, again, how are you?
I'm good, Gavin. How are you?
I'm doing fine. You ready to get this in, sir?
Yeah.
Do you want to do one plug-in before we get started?
Well, the 2021 books of the SJS Direct catalog are now available in paperback and Kindle format, and those include John Haynes' Taking Care of Business, ISIS Revenge of the Cyber Goddess, E-Steam Cancel Vacation, and Stop Simping in Cyberspace. And in addition to those four books that are a part of the 2021 catalog, I have over 75 titles in paperback and Kindle format on Amazon.com. And you can find all of my titles that I mentioned and all of the other great books on the SJS Direct imprint on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. And you can also find many SJS Direct titles on Smashwords, the iBook store, at Google Play, and Barnes & Noble.
Most definitely. Now, Shawn, let's go ahead and get into it again, ladies and gentlemen. So here is our number 10 topic that happened in 2021. The freeze in Texas. Now, of course, this was not just in Texas, but it was across the entire South back in February of 2021. You had a freeze that struck a major city such as Houston, Texas. The state of Texas suffered a major power crisis in which more than 4.5 million homes and businesses were left without power, some for several days. At least 210 people were killed directly or indirectly, although some estimates say it may be as high as 702. The property damage as a result of the storm was around $195 billion estimated in the United States. You see here, this is a before picture, obviously, of all the areas with power. The satellite image, shows the areas after the storm had passed with no power at all. And of course, the big controversy with this, ladies and gentlemen, if you remember, was dealing with the companies. This actually is an article from WFAA. We'll go right here. I'll plug this in so we can look at it. But during the winter storm, companies being told, such as ERCOT, we were paid to cut off power during February storm.
And today, a new report out of UT Austin digs into the causes of the winter storm blackouts. Charlotte Huffman joins us live with that information tonight. Charlotte, what did the reports find?
Well, as the UT researchers were given access to confidential PUC and ERCOT data, the result is this 100-page report, which sheds new light on why so many neighborhoods went dark in February. While the researchers concluded that there was no single issue to blame, they did highlight two failures that were not previously publicly known. First, they found some generation units tripped offline at temperatures that they were designed to withstand. And second, they found 67 fuel gas sites, including at least 5 identified as critical to providing natural gas to electrical power plants, were enrolled in ERCOT's Emergency Response Service Program. Now, what that means is this. The owners of these 67 sites, which were mostly natural gas facilities, were paid to have their power cut off. By voluntarily enrolling in ERCOT's emergency services, these companies got money from ERCOT, and in exchange, they gave the grid permission to cut off their power in an emergency. Now, I asked the UT researchers why critical natural gas facilities are allowed to enroll in this program to begin with. They said it's certainly a topic that should be reviewed by policymakers, and like you, we wanted to know which facilities were compensated, but the researchers weren't privy to that information or how much the facilities were compensated. We do know, though, that ERCOT's program sets a $50 million per year cap on compensation. Now, we did reach out to ERCOT, which we should note has been under pressure from the PUC to be more transparent, to see if they'll tell us which facilities were compensated to cut off their power in the middle of a crisis, and if so, how much were they paid? We are still awaiting their response. In Dallas, I'm Charlotte Huffman.
Wow, that was tough to hear. Yeah, and a lot of people, especially after this, if you remember, we talked about how they were even talking about raising the prices.
There's immense grief.
Yeah, people had busted pipes, people had fires and so forth. This is actually just, I hate when these ads pop up. Damn it. No, I don't want to sign up for free. Yeah, but you remember this, Shawn, all of the stuff that
Yeah.
was going on, it was big, especially the fourth largest city in the United States, and ERCOT being in trouble with the power grids and so forth, people being forced to throw out I mean, it's something that happens during a disaster with people losing food, water, and all these supplies. What do you remember about this?
I remember it was a major shock to Texas's power grid, and it highlighted an issue with the power grid that we've had to deal with for many years. The American power grid has been obsolete for over 50 years, and this storm practically showed us how fragile that system is and how one storm can practically shut down an entire electrical grid. And people, they were getting upset talking about, oh, how it was the state's fault. But we have had problems with this electrical grid for ever since about 2000 or so, back when we had a blackout in about 2003 here in New York. And Americans have kicked the can on maintaining our infrastructure. Now, your Joe Biden says he's going to try to fix it with this infrastructure bill, but these power grids were something that desperately needed to have been fixed over 50 years ago, because we're talking about putting more on these grids, like power banks for electric cars and putting other things like solar generators on them. And clearly, these grids just can't handle any more power being put on them. And again, all it takes is one
Right.
catastrophe and the whole system practically shuts down.
Yeah, and we saw people. This is an image of a guy trying to collect melting snow for water. That
Yeah.
was how bad it was. So they, according to this now, ERCOT is claiming. I'm just reading the headline that they're prepared now in case of a winter storm. You see here, Texas power generating plants are ready for winter weather. Uh, I guess hoping to avoid another disaster on this, but you know, something like this was catastrophic, and especially in the way that you had deaths resulting from it, over 710. But yeah, we're relying on the old system when you do that, as we saw with Hurricane here in New Orleans with Hurricane Ida. That wasn't great for us in particular. We saw how the whole thing collapsed, and I guess since we're talking about Hurricane Ida, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to move on. That's actually my next topic. I can segue in since it is a disaster. Uh, People might be shocked it's not a little bit higher for me, but I didn't think of it that way because I thought there were some other things that happened, but it still made the list. Hurricane Ida strikes the Gulf Coast now, especially around the anniversary, the 16th anniversary of Hurricane Katrina. Louisiana suffered another hurricane that struck its inland, which was Hurricane Ida. The Category 4 Atlantic storm became the second most damaging and intense hurricane to make landfall in Louisiana on record, behind Hurricane Katrina in 2005. With maximum sustained winds at 150 miles per hour, Ida tied 2020's Hurricane Laura and the 1856 last island hurricane as the strongest on record in the state. It's also the sixth costliest tropical cyclone on record and the fourth costliest Atlantic hurricane in the United States, tied with Hurricane Sandy, having cost over $65.25 billion. Now, I'm safe to say we did not have any damage at my home per se from the storm as far as flooding was concerned. The flood walls did hold up. However, unfortunately, what we saw with Hurricane Ida was damage, of course, to our with winds and so forth. In fact, some buildings that had fallen down as a result. We saw power outages for weeks, people out with that. And there were at least 33 total deaths. Of course, the storm, once it made landfall, it impacted some other areas. The total was 95 deaths across the South in Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama, and all along the East Coast, where there was also flooding as a result of this. So I have a picture here of the power line that fell, and that was the main problem too. We have images here of the power lines that were and the power grid that was knocked out as along Hurricane Ida, especially devastating cities like Houma and Thibodeau and so forth, where it made landfall. All 8 transmission lines were knocked out. You can see that right there. That's one of them. One was even reported to be in the Mississippi River. So this was our power grid. Just like Houston, we rely on this old energy power grid, which basically has a monopoly along the Gulf Coast and here in New Orleans. We were also without cable, which is not a big deal, but I knew cable TV. Okay, you guys, I'm sharing this and y'all couldn't even see this. I'm sorry. But yeah, but this is the power grid there that was knocked out. We also had, let's see. Yeah, so these are some of the landmarks. This is actually downtown on Rampart, LaSalle. So this and I was evacuated with my family for a whole over a week, well over a week. We were in Dallas and so forth. So I have memories of this. Shawn, what do you think of this as we talk about Hurricane Ida and just remembering its impact?
Well, it was a very sad and tragic storm, and sadly, a lot of people they got their homes damaged. Some people lost their homes, and some lost their lives. And it was a very again troubling thing, Hurricane Ida, and it was a very devastating storm. I'll say that much. I just think about how it did, and it just really shook a lot of people's lives, and it just was another one of those natural disasters that practically was one that just hard to really think about and think anything about it except it was a great tragedy.
Yes, and this is Lafourche Parish. This is Houma. So this is the aftermath. The storm actually made landfall uh, right in this area. So you could see it's like a giant that just came in and just brushed his hands over everything. Just the damage that happened. So this was aerial footage, and people are still trying to fight to recover. So
Yeah,
yeah, so this was a very sad incident. But I came out lucky compared to others. So God had blessed me. I pray for them. I pray for the people. And they're moving a whole tree, that whole entire tree off of the house, man. They were
yeah.
trying to. I don't know how they thought they could pick that up. What they think, but yeah. Uh, so yeah. So Hurricane Ida makes number 9 on my list, ladies and gentlemen. Hit that like, share, and subscribe button, guys. Of course, if you want to support me since we ended 2021, if you like this channel, if you like what we're doing, the content, please donate to the Cash App or to the PayPal or Zelle. Ladies and gentlemen, you see that there. We are here with Shawn James as we discuss the 2021, the random topics of 2021, our best of countdown, ladies and gentlemen. So far, Shawn, we've got 2 down. We've got number 10 and 9 out the way. So now we got to go with number 8, which is this. White supremacist convicted, Kim Potter convicted as well. Of course, many of you all know okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so as many of you all know, we had this situation that took place I don't want to show this video of Ahmaud Arbery being shot, but we all know what happened to, if you remember, Ahmaud Arbery, the young brother who was jogging out in Brunswick, Georgia, and was chased down by these three. I'm not going to call them suspected white supremacists. I'll just say they are. These murderers. These devils chased this man down and killed him. And so, in a move that many people didn't think would see, although I thought there was a good
I'm going
chance,
to go ahead and address each one of these
they
verdict
were
forms
convicted
separately.
on his murder.
First verdict form I have is the state of Georgia versus Travis McMichael. Mr. McMichael, please stand. Verdict is as follows. In the Superior Court of Glenn County, state of Georgia, the state of Georgia versus Travis McMichael, case number CR 000433. Jury verdict form. Count 1, malice murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, Travis McMichael, guilty. I'm going to ask that whoever just made an outburst be removed from the court, please. As this court has indicated, I ask that there be no outbursts in the court, and I expect as much from the gallery. Please respect the court's desire for this as we move forward. If you feel like you need to make a comment or otherwise demonstrate with respect to the verdict, I do ask that you step out of the courtroom now. Count 2, felony murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, Travis McMichael, guilty. Count 3, felony murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, Travis McMichael, guilty. Count 4, felony murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, Travis McMichael, guilty. Count 5, felony murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, Travis McMichael, guilty. Count 6, aggravated assault. We, the jury, find the defendant, Travis McMichael, guilty. Count 7, aggravated assault. We, the jury, find the defendant, Travis McMichael, guilty. Count 8, false imprisonment. We, the jury, find the defendant, Travis McMichael, guilty. Count 9, criminal attempt to commit a felony. We, the jury, find the defendant, Travis McMichael, guilty. Dated this 24th day of November, 2021, signed by the foreperson. Have a seat. Have a seat. As to Gregory McMichael. In the Superior Court of Glenn County, the state of Georgia versus Greg McMichael. Case number CR 20000433. Jury verdict form. Count 1, malice murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, Greg McMichael, not guilty. Count 2, felony murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, Greg McMichael, guilty. Count 3, felony murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, Greg McMichael, guilty. Count 4, felony murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, Greg McMichael, guilty. Count 5, felony murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, Greg McMichael, guilty. Count 6, aggravated assault. We, the jury, find the defendant, Greg McMichael, guilty. Count 7, aggravated assault. We, the jury, find the defendant, Greg McMichael, guilty. Count 8, false imprisonment. We, the jury, find the defendant, Greg McMichael, guilty. Count 9, criminal attempt to commit a felony. We, the jury, find the defendant, Greg McMichael, guilty. This 24th day of November, 2021, signed by the foreperson. As to William R. Bryan. In the Superior Court of Glenn County, state of Georgia versus William R. Bryan. Case number CR 20000433. Jury verdict form. Count 1, malice murder. We, the jury, find the defendant William R. Bryan not guilty. Count 2, felony murder. We, the jury, find the defendant William R. Bryan not guilty. Count 3, felony murder. We, the jury, find the defendant William R. Bryan guilty. Count 4, felony murder. We, the jury, find the defendant William R.
I gotta pause it for a second, but y'all see this face? This is like, man, I done fucked up. I should have just minded my damn business. I should have minded my own damn business.
Bryan guilty. Count 5, felony murder. We, the jury, find the defendant William R. Bryan guilty. Count 6, aggravated assault. We, the jury, find the defendant William R. Bryan not guilty. Count 7, aggravated assault. We, the jury, find the defendant William R. Bryan guilty. Count 8, false imprisonment. We, the jury, find the defendant William R. Bryan guilty. Count 9, criminal attempt to commit a felony. We, the jury, find the defendant William R. Bryan guilty. Signed this 24th day of November by the foreperson.
Of course, we know that outburst was by Ahmaud Arbery's father. And of course, Ahmaud Arbery's father, I got to mention, he did do that. I didn't care for that little cooning thing he did outside the court. But we subsequently also had, you know, of course, he did this.
Number one, I want to give all glory to God. Because that's who made all this possible. Number two, I want to thank his mama. Yeah. I want to thank my sister's brothers. I want to thank my child for being strong through the rough times. Because I know what they had to deal with.
Yes.
And number two, I want to thank all y'all people for the support y'all gave us. Because one of us did this. You know what?
That's right.
There ain't no one thing. God work two sides. I don't put you down. So y'all put together. So hey, that's what it's all about. Because if one side it wouldn't happen. Come on. When you work, you work the month. Going into the new office. We come to that next month. We got that next month. Today. Let you know that black kids' life don't matter. For real, all life matters. Not just black. We don't want to see nobody go through this. I don't want to see no daddy watch a kid get left and shot down like that. That's right, Mom. So it's all our problem. So hey, let's keep fighting. Let's keep doing it. And let's flip all you will be.
You saw they tried to rush him off. Now, of course, this was not the only shooting that took place. Last year, of course, earlier this year, we had the death of Dante Wright by this woman, Kim Potter, who was a police officer who shot Dante Wright, claiming she mistook her pistol for her taser, meaning she meant to tase him, but instead she pulled out her service weapon and fired one shot into Dante's torso while he was trying to flee and killed him. She was found guilty of 2 counts of manslaughter.
Court file number 27 CR 21 7490. We, the jury, on the charge of manslaughter in the first degree while committing a misdemeanor on or about April 11, 2021 in Hennepin County, state of Minnesota, find the defendant guilty. And the verdict was agreed to at the hour of 11:40 a.m. and signed by the jury person on 12/23/21. The verdict on count 2 is we, the jury, on the charge of manslaughter in the second degree, culpable negligence on or about April 11, 2021 in Hennepin County, state of Minnesota, find the defendant guilty. And that verdict was agreed to at 10:30 a.m. on 12/21.
The judge has a smooth voice. Of course, the sentencing for these two separate cases has not come down. The killers in the Ahmaud Arbery sentencing are set to make an appearance in court on January 7th. And I believe Kim Potter's trial or sentencing rather, is set sometime later in January. I believe, I know that they were trying to work this out. I don't know it's the exact date they have set here, but sentencing is set for her, according, I'm looking on USA Today, on February 18th. So there we go with that. All right. Well, Shawn, what are your thoughts on these two?
Well, on both of these cases, I thank God that justice was served, and I thank God that both of these killers are off the streets.
Well, it wasn't
And
two, but
well,
yeah,
well, in both of these cases, I mean,
sure.
with the trio of suburban commandos who went out here and willfully and intentionally murdered Ahmaud Arbery. I thank God we were able to get some justice for Ahmaud Arbery. And I really look at that case, and a lot of people thought that we weren't going to be able to get any justice for him, but I was glad that the jury did look at the evidence objectively. And I'm glad that the judge managed to maintain a much better and professional court than the one of Kyle Rittenhouse. And we were able to get justice in this case because that was cold-blooded murder, and it would have set a dangerous legal precedent that would have allowed your suburban commandos to wreak havoc all across this country had that verdict been an acquittal. So I'm glad that there was a conviction in that case because it was clearly murder, and those individuals, they were out here looking to hunt down a black man, no different than a Ku Klux Klansman back during the dark days of Jim Crow. Now, in the case of Dante Wright's killer, I also am glad to see justice meted out in that case because a trained officer should know the difference between her taser and a firearm. And it's clear to me that there was some malice of forethought as related to that incident. While we could only get a manslaughter and conviction in that case, I definitely believe there was some malice of forethought and some anger regarding Dante Wright defying the officer, and she got upset because he defied her, and then she decided to take out that weapon. And I believe that was done with some intent, but I'm glad that the criminal justice system did mete out some justice, and this woman was going to be punished for going out here. Now I'm hoping that we are able to keep some momentum going as related to these cases because we got a conviction with Derek Chauvin, we got a conviction with Ahmaud Arbery's killers, and we got a conviction with Dante Wright's killers. And I'm hoping that Black people don't get complacent. We keep the pressure up because we need to set a standard for justice for Black people. And the only way we can keep that standard is if we continue pushing for momentum to move forward.
Without a doubt, when you talk about momentum moving forward, Shawn, it also takes the right people
Yeah.
in Congress, in our state and local government that will actually do the bidding of the people, and that has been a problem in the last, I'd say, 30 to 40 years. We've had this congressional Black Caucus that has done absolutely nothing. They want to propose a bill named after George Floyd, but we don't have which I think is a problem for me. I've said that before, but we don't have, and they've never passed it, by the way, issues regards police cameras and qualified immunity. We have we have these congresspersons like Jim Clyburn who talks about, well, I just want them to do something for my children and grandchildren. I don't need nothing else. But meanwhile, he's passing bills and supporting legislation for Native Americans. He's against reparations for Blacks. He has not fought for that. And it's not just him. It's been his other members as well. So it takes us to not only just go after, yes, we should be upset with the police that do something egregious, but we also have to be upset with those who tend to do nothing, who sit on their asses and collect the check, and we just keep voting and voting for them. If we keep doing the same thing, it's the definition of insanity.
I definitely agree with you on that point, and we really do in the black community have to do something about this bootlick class, because this bootlick class of Negroes, all they're looking to do is get themselves a political patronage job from a white leftist politician, and they're not about getting us the tangible of justice. So we really have to go out here and really start to work towards getting these bootlicks out of office. And that's the only way we can do that is educating more people about the political process. And part of the political process is we've got to stop taking their hand-picked elite candidates and start creating our own candidates and making them follow our agenda. And if they don't follow our agenda, we vote them out of office. This is something the late David Carroll talked about regularly. And I'd like to see more black people start thinking about dealing with this bootleg class, these waste of space Negroes, and working towards getting these deadweight bootleg class Negroes out of our political and economic machine, because all they're looking for is a quick payday at everybody's expense, and they're not about empowering or uplifting black people or getting us the tangible of justice or bringing tangible resources back to the black community.
All right. Speaking of elected officials, ladies and gentlemen, of course, here's our seventh topic, Shawn, and I'm sure this is dear to your heart. The Super Cuomo brothers. Now, they are not Negroes, but elected officials. In particular, one, Andrew Cuomo, who was the governor of New York, who was forced to resign this past September due to allegations of sexual misconduct. And of course, then subsequently, even his own brother, Andrew Cuomo, Chris Cuomo, who was an anchor and regular on CNN, when it's discovered that he breached his ethics as a journalist and went in depth to discredit his brother's accusers. Now, we're going to go ahead and play this video right quick. Of course, this is from ABC 7.
Breaking news we are following. CNN has fired anchor in a statement saying termination is effective evidence in their investigation. The network suspended Cuomo earlier this week after an investigation revealed how he aided in his brother's, former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo's, defense during a sexual harassment scandal. They found text messages between the former CNN anchor and several aides that revealed he planned to use his connections in the press to help his brother's team.
Yeah. You know, I forgot, ladies and gentlemen, because I put it at number 8, but I should have mentioned George Floyd's verdict. Now that I'm thinking about it, because that should have been on the list. But so what I want to do, of course, let me get Shawn to talk about Cuomo, Andrew Cuomo, and Chris Cuomo being fired, of course, and then we could talk about Andrew Cuomo, George Floyd. Shawn, you being from New York, you had problems obviously with Andrew Cuomo and the things that he was doing, especially when it came to this nursing home deaths more than anything. But it was these allegations of sexual misconduct that forced him to resign back earlier a few months ago.
As you probably know, the Attorney General,
more people were upset with that than the deaths of nursing home residents.
Cooperate with that review. Now the lawyers say,
you can go ahead, Shawn, and talk. I'll mute this.
Well, with Andrew Cuomo, I had problems with him because it just was unethical the way he handled the whole COVID-19 pandemic. This man was sitting here talking about how people needed to shut down their businesses and lose their jobs. And then as he was locking down New York, he just goes out here and instead of taking the help from President Trump, he then ignores the USNS Comfort and a whole Javits Center filled with beds. And instead of him using those resources, what he does is he puts COVID patients inside of nursing homes and puts the elderly and the disabled at risk of catching a disease that could possibly take their lives. And it cost many people who could not go out here and fight that disease their lives. And that was just completely unethical because it was done out of spite. And it was all because did not want to take resources from a president he didn't like during a pandemic. Now that was completely unethical and absolutely disgusting. In addition to him sitting there, and then after all these people wound up passing away, making the arrogant statement saying that, oh, God had nothing to do with the pandemic, at the response. And what happened was the Most High then let the sexual harassment thing come out on him, and that was the end of Andrew Cuomo. Your Andrew Cuomo was an extremely arrogant man who thought that, oh, I'm just going to spite President Trump and then go on the air trying to make himself appear to look like he was some sort of saint on the air, trying to make himself appear to be presidential and working on his presidential campaign, talking about how he was going to become the next president. But we found as the story went on that he wasn't the hero that he was being made in the media. He was a monster going out here and abusing his office and abusing his power over people. And thank God we see this monster revealed for who he truly was. Now, your Chris Cuomo was just as much of a monster as your Andrew Cuomo out here, and your Chris Cuomo was one of the worst journalists we've ever seen. He was out here. He was supposed to be objectively reporting the stories as related to what was going on, but instead of him being an ethical and objective reporter, he used his office to go out here and send information to his brother as related to a sexual harassment scandal. And that again just shows how reprehensible both of the Cuomo brothers were. And the truth has come out on both of them. And as a result of the truth coming out on both of them, your Andrew Cuomo is no longer the governor of New York, and your Chris Cuomo is no longer working at CNN. And the snapshot we're getting of CNN is not a place of objective journalism. No, we are getting a snapshot of an environment where your reporters are compromised. Your reporters have no ethics whatsoever. And it's an environment that is just not a place where news is reported. It is a place where your reporters are emotionally and personally involved in stories like what happened with Don Lemon and allegedly your Juicy Jussie, and what happened with your Chris Cuomo. So when I look at the whole Cuomo situation, it really shows you how corrupt New York politics is and how corrupt your leftist journalism truly has become.
Kevin Whittenburn said Bill de Blasio is the worst politician in New York City for the last 2 terms. I can't wait for him to lead this state of New York.
I can't wait for him either, but your Eric Adams is turning out to be Uncle Eric, a black bootleg, and he's looking like he's getting ready to try to fill the shoes of a Barack Obama, and he may be actually even worse than Bill de Blasio, because with these black bootlicks, they try to overcompensate and try to oppress black people to gain white favor. So I'm thinking that Bill de Blasio, while he was bad, your Eric Adams might be 10 times worse. Professor Black Truth warned everybody about Eric Adams, and now we're seeing that everything Professor Black Truth said about him is looking like it's coming true.
Yeah, most definitely. Hit that like, share, and subscribe button, ladies and gentlemen. Hit that like, share, and subscribe if you like what we're doing. We're going to go ahead and go on forward with our list. In spite of what I had previously said, I think you might find it actually on another thing. Yeah, Juicy Smollett. Juicy, I call him Musty Jussie. You'll see. We'll talk about him a little bit later. Ladies and gentlemen. So that was number 7. So we got number 6. Now, this channel might be shut down for me saying this, but I actually just had to put it like this. Of course, we had the issue over the jab and not to jab. And the reason I have to frame it like this, of course, is that, as you know, from last year, the United States was on lockdown. The United States and the world, for that matter, for several months, even longer. And it's possible that we could be on lockdown again. But with COVID-19 rising rampant, we saw what Donald Trump enacted called Operation Warp Speed, which was to develop a new jab that could help combat the disease virus, although they have been doing this for a long time, developing this from my research and information. And of course, what I so much am I talking about the jab, but almost the brink of civil war of people who want to jab or not to jab. The restrictions that came in, of course, the mayors in different cities, from even my hometown of New Orleans to Chicago to New York and Los Angeles, had mandates that were put in over the jabs. And so these are actually news articles I have here. This is one out of New York from CBS News that was today, actually, yesterday.
Teen vaccine mandate to date went into effect Monday. It requires all private sector employees to provide proof of at least one vaccine dose in order to enter their workplace. And everyone aged 12 and up must show proof of full vaccination to eat indoors at city restaurants and other venues, including movie theaters and museums. The strict measures come as the positivity rate in New York City continues to soar due to the highly contagious Omicron variant. For more, we want to at city and state New York. Zach, thank you so much for joining us. What kind of enforcement measures will the city's vaccine mandate have?
Well, thank you so much for having me, Elise. You know, this vaccine mandate takes effect at a really strange time for New York City. New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio will only be mayor for a couple more days. Incoming Mayor Eric Adams has taken the helm over the weekend. But so for now, Bill de Blasio is saying that health inspectors will be out in the city, checking businesses, making sure that their employers have at least one dose of the vaccine. And for those that refuse to cooperate whatsoever, there could be $1,000 fines. But the mayor emphasized earlier today that the focus for now, at least, is on education of businesses, helping them comply with this mandate, and leaving it to his successor to really figure out how this is going to work in the long term.
So some estimate 1 in 50 New Yorkers have been infected with COVID in the past week. What essential services have been most impacted?
Well, already we're seeing warnings that there could be subway delays coming upcoming days. So many MTA workers calling in sick. There have also been reports of a shortage of EMS staff. And certainly healthcare workers have been really strained to the breaking point for really this entire pandemic. And we've seen more and more of them working extra hours, and there just doesn't seem to be enough people to cover all bases as this enormous spread of the Omicron variant continues. That said, we're still nowhere where we were last spring 2020, but at the same time, there certainly are quite a few essential services that have been impacted by this huge surge in infection. Everything from school officials, healthcare workers, and of course, the EMS staff are so important to helping New Yorkers survive this.
In a medical crisis, think those essential workers enough. Zach, you mentioned that Mayor Bill de Blasio is only mayor just for a short period of time. Does incoming Mayor Adams have the same commitment to these policies as outgoing Mayor de Blasio?
I would say generally the incoming mayor has been supportive of Mayor Bill de Blasio's policies. But that said, he's been holding his cards very close to the chest on this vaccine mandate for private employers. He hasn't actually said whether he'll continue it once he becomes mayor, but his staff have suggested that he will make his stance clear once he takes the oath of office in the upcoming days.
How are New York City residents responding to the latest mandate?
Well, I would say it's a pretty moot point for the vast majority of New Yorkers. More than 71% of people in the city are fully vaccinated. That means either one dose of Johnson & Johnson or 2 doses of Pfizer. But leaves about 20% of New Yorkers who have had no vaccine doses at all. You know, some of them have their own reasons, all sorts of them out there. But the mandate does raise the issue of how best to address concerns among some Black and Latino people who are suspicious about vaccines and the healthcare system in general, especially given a very troubled history such communities being victimized by the government or the healthcare system. And of course, some businesses are also worried about how this vaccine mandate might affect their own staffing levels. Businesses across industries have been struggling to keep workers in the pandemic, and some believe that this vaccine mandate won't help at all.
Zach Williams, thank you.
By the way. Chicago, of course, has ordered mandates as well. You have had lawsuits that were filed in different cities over this in federal court. Of course, in Houston, we had hospital workers that actually demanded their jobs back over this because they didn't want to follow these mandates. We've had this in Texas, we've had it even in Louisiana, and so forth, where they threw out the challenges, saying that the guidelines and the hospital rules were in accordance with federal guidelines. And of course, President Joe Biden has ordered anyone in federal employment, everybody is supposed to get it. So a lot of people are upset about this, and this was actually, it could have been much higher. But Shawn, you go ahead.
Well, here in New York, Black Bootleg Eric Adams has continued on with the mandates, and that's going to lead to a lot of brothers and sisters being out of work. And these mandates have not really stopped any COVID here in New York. In fact, COVID is at a higher level this year than it was last year. And the so-called vaccine, I shouldn't have said that. But
you could say jab.
The jab has not really stopped the spread of COVID here in New York. In fact, the spread of COVID again has gotten 10 times worse. And we're seeing an explosion here in New York. But your leftists, they don't want to admit the truth about this jab and how it's doing damage to the city, and it's doing damage to the city's economy. They're just so caught up in trying to make their stance right that they're practically willing to double and triple down, even in the face of the so-called science we were told to trust. Now, the science is showing us that the narrative for the jab is crumbling all around us, but they still insist on making these jabs mandatory, even though the people who have taken the jab have been the ones who have been getting this Omicron variant and been getting it in the largest numbers. And that is what makes these mandates completely insane and makes the decisions of people like Bill de Blasio and that bootleg Eric Adams very just it makes no sense, because you clearly see that the medicine that you have put out here does not work. But instead of following the science, you still continue to go on doing the exact same thing and expecting a different result. Now, the rest of the world calls that insanity, but the left calls that business as usual.
Yeah, I want to show everybody something. I was just looking online at how different states handle this. Our governor here, John Bel Edwards, he made an announcement with regards to the recent surge of COVID-19. They have not implemented, obviously a stay-at-home order as of yet, but by the way he was talking, it seemed like it was coming that way. But what's interesting is that he said he's not going to celebrate New Year's Eve at the Superdome because we have the Sugar Bowl tomorrow. He's not going to the Saints game. But as I'm sitting listening to the news, Shawn, with my girlfriend, I'm listening to this. And when they talk about the schools, there's no plan to make the schools virtual again. So wait a minute. If you have this surge that's going on, why aren't the schools being sent back to virtual? Because your main concern, you want kids to get this from 5 to 11 in order to qualify. They have those restrictions that are in place. You have to go to school and get this. And to be fair, previous vaccines or jabs, and I'm talking about like a polio vaccine, a smallpox vaccine, and so forth, those were invented, and it was mandatory in schools. The courts, it is mandatory that kids get that. So that's true. But don't you think with this rising, especially if they're that concerned, they should switch back to virtual learning? If that is the case.
Well, when it comes
We'll
down to a
cut
lot of
back
these,
on.
well, when it comes down to a lot of these politicians, they have this notion of trying to stay open because when the whole thing is they think that if they try to stay open, they can keep the economy going. But I find it interesting that when Trump was president, they were the ones vehemently about closing everything and sheltering in place. But when they come to power, they want to have everything open and they want to keep everything open, even though many companies are experiencing staffing shortages, even though many of these staffing shortages are forced due to their mandates, they want to keep the whole country open. And I believe it's all about them trying to look optically good for the 2022 midterms. And it's all about them try to play the hero by saying, oh, we kept the economy open. But again, I find it interesting that when President Trump was in office, they didn't want to keep the economy open, showing me how political this is and how they really don't care about the American people. Moreover, you've got a lot of rich companies that are hemorrhaging money, so they want to keep things open because they don't have, if they close up, they will practically go out of business. So this is all about money and all about politics and all about the left try to stay optically looking good, but everybody's looking at them and seeing the truth about them and how bad they actually look, which is them trying to go out here and try to play hero when they were the actual ones who were looking more and more like the villains every day.
This is the actual map of the United States, the territories, the country, when stay-at-home orders came into effect. You can look here. It looks at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 states. So basically 40 states had some type of stay-at-home order. The darker blue, I believe, are the ones that started the earliest, and possibly they have even the strictest ones there, like California. And so you see California, you see Illinois right there. And ours came in effect on March 11th, March 25th, around March 11th, March 23rd. You know, they are not, March 23rd was a stay-at-home order. They have already said, you know, Mardi Gras as of right now is still going on. So in Louisiana, and I know they don't want to cancel that because there's a lot of money to be made. We make our monies with tourism here in New Orleans, but that this event, this jab or not the jab, is something. It's a topic that is actually going to continue, obviously, in 2022. Shawn, I don't see an ending. So
Yeah.
we're stuck with that for now. All right. So number 5, I told you he would be back, and of course, let's get in right now. Juicy Jussie convicted in Chicago, ending a 2.5-year sentence. Of course, the whole scandal started back in a freeze in 2019 up in Chicago in January, where Juicy Smollett was supposedly going to get some Subway sandwiches for something to eat late in the morning during a freeze. And he claimed that he was attacked by these 2 men wearing MAGA hats, calling him faggot. This is the word he used, excuse me, but calling him racial epithets and sexual, making homophobic slurs. Call him a nigger, black faggot, and all of these things. These are the words that he described from the reports. And of course, the nation was outraged. People, this made national news. Jussie was actually interviewed by Robin Roberts on ABC News, and would be this uh, that would do Jussie in. Uh, at trial. In fact, it was used against him based off of his body language and his appearance, that the injuries did not seem to be true. He did not seem to be truthful in the injuries, no less seeing that it was looked superficial. In fact, what has come out now, of course, he was convicted a few weeks ago in Chicago for disorderly conduct at his trial. And you saw, this is the interview here, or at least the clip of it.
Jussie Smollett, star of the hit show Empire. His story of being a victim of a vicious hate crime shocked the nation.
What happened that night?
Now tomorrow, he speaks out to Robin Roberts in his first interview.
At any point during the attack, did you fear for your life?
The exclusive tomorrow only on GMA.
Of course, it's coming out that he did this, according to Chicago police, to advance his career on Empire because he was saying he was getting hate mail and people were not taking it seriously, particularly Daniels. And also, he was receiving, claimed to be underpaid and thought he could use this to get some money. And as we know, with Dave Chappelle has stated, our silence was basically support of Jussie because we knew that this nigga was clearly lying. He clearly was. And this didn't age well. The vice president tweeted this out. Well, she wasn't vice president then, but when she was a senator, she said, "He's one of the kindest, most gentle human beings I know. I'm praying for his quick recovery. This was an attempted modern-day lynching. No one should have to fear for their life because of their sexuality or color of their skin. We must confront hate." And most people were coming out. Now, this is God, I do not like Amanda Seales, so I don't even want to put anything up with her. I didn't know she put that out, but the Make America Great Again, yeah, she got, I always said he got two brothers from Wakanda, but this was one of the weirdest trials, Shawn, I had ever seen, where all the evidence, especially subsequently, that came out, saw these two men that he hired, these brothers, that he hired to stage this attack, that testified, and then I'll get let me mute the music because I'll get a copyright strike on it. But yeah, these are the two men. Am I pronouncing it? Osunadro brothers, Osundario brothers. By the way, I don't think a white supremacist. Now that's him with he still had the noose on his neck. By the time the cops got there, you can see this was on January 29, 2019. I'm trying to see what time in the morning it is, but this was early in the morning. Shawn, you just go ahead. Yeah, they poured bleach on him as they shouted pro-Trump signals and signs. All of this was bullshit. He was arrested in February of 2019. He had 6 charges that were assessed to him, but then the prosecutor, Kim Fox, wanted to null process and just have Jussie go ahead and forfeit his bail to the state and do community service. But instead, a grand jury indicted him. He had 6 counts of disorderly conduct, and it was a bunch of crap. And of course, he was convicted. What? And true, yeah, Subway sandwiches aren't even that good to go out. You go out for Waffle House when it's late at night. Not on the coldest day in Chicago. And I know Brother Harvey, he talks about it, saying that it could have happened, but just from everything, it didn't. It didn't happen. I know he's up there in Chicago and said it was possible, but just hearing the circumstances when I was listening to it, everybody knew he's lying. Shawn,
well, with Musty Dusty Justice Smollett, we see that he was a race traitor from day one. And he was a race traitor from day one because he went out here and was willing to put black people at risk, all because he wanted to try to elevate his star in white supremacist Hollywood.
On
Now,
a
you're
shady show.
yeah, on a garbage show from another black bootlick sellout, Lee Daniels. Now, your musty, dusty Jussie Smollett thought he would go out here and participate in a marketing stunt to get attention for himself and elevate his profile, where he would go out here and stage a so called race incident where he would be attacked by these so called MAGA supporters. And he did this all based on his emotions, thinking that, oh, people will get as emotional as he was once they heard about the race as related to the incident. However, because you're musty, dusty Jussie Smollett, this black bootlick sellout, he wasn't thinking critically. He went out here and staged this incident on the coldest day in Chicago. Now, it's all 2 a.m. and it's 26 degrees below zero, and your musty, dusty Jussie Smollett wanted us all to believe that he was going to be attacked by MAGA supporters in Chicago, a primarily Democrat run city. And that's where his story started to fall apart. And people started looking past the emotions as related to the noose and the racists who he said were attacking him. And they started to think critically about the whole incident. And as police did an investigation, they found that musty, dusty Jussie Smollett had staged this entire mess. And what's even worse is that he even had help from the prosecutor as related to trying to cover up this mess. Now, what could have happened in a worst case scenario as related to this is that many of those racists on the right who supported Donald Trump, they could have gotten polarized as related to this incident. And many on the left could have also, on the Black Lives Matter crowd, could have gotten polarized as well. And this whole incident could have been a whole lot worse. And what could have happened was people could have possibly had their lives put at risk had there been some sort of riot go on or some sort of violent incident. Because what we saw with George Floyd is how dangerous this situation could get if emotions and tensions ran high. And your musty, dusty Jussie Smollett didn't care about any of this. All he wanted to do was he wanted to get a raise from Lee Daniels, and he wanted to get more exposure on the show. And he didn't need to go out here and participate in such an egregious stunt to go out here and do this. No, all he had to do was go set up a meeting between his agent and Lee Daniels and discuss the issues as related to his role on the show. But because your musty, dusty Jussie Smollett didn't want to go face to face with Lee Daniels and deal with things on the merits, he staged this incident and he went out here and possibly put a lot of people's lives at risk. And he didn't care, again, about black people. And that's what black people need to understand. He wouldn't even pee on black folks if they were on fire. He had no concern about anybody's safety. All he thought about was himself. And he wanted to use this stunt to try to get attention for himself. And he didn't even care about any of the safety of all of those black people or those white people who would have been polarized or incensed by his actions.
Yeah, and that's the main thing. He could have caused even more. His lie, his hoax would have caused more damage and has caused damage to people who actually suffer from or have been the victims of a real hate crime because it makes it more difficult for police to believe that it's happening. Although sometimes some of them are committed by police officers as well, but nevertheless, what he did was foolish. But all right, that was number 5. I know some of you probably thought it could have been much higher, but we're going to go ahead and that was due suggestion. We're going to go with number 4, which is Biden and Kamala come to the White House. Of course, we have the election of Joe Biden and as president, 46th president of the United States, and Kamala Harris, who was the first female vice president and first what they call her the first black woman, but even in the news, as she's run as a black woman, they refer to her in the news still, and she has as the first Asian president, vice president to hold office. And of course, uh, they came in, they beating your Donald Trump and Mike Pence in the 2020 their 2020 reelection campaign. I believe they actually received over. They claim to have received well over the most votes of any president, even more than Barack Obama, which a lot of people, uh, some people, of course, did not believe that number. Shawn, when you look at this, of course, since your Kamala Harris and Joe Biden have become president, since they have taken office, of course, what are your thoughts on this and what has happened? I mean, 81 million, he won the popular vote by 81 million, including getting the electoral college by 306 votes. Of course, many people have challenged it. Trump supporters saying that this was fraudulent, that he couldn't even do this, that there was voter fraud, uh, in an attempt to subvert the election and overturn the results. But so far, of course, since he has been elected, Kamala Harris is the vice president. Uh, what do you think of what's going on? And
Well,
their
I
time in
think I think Americans are going to have had the worst case of voter remorse in the last year. Now, your Joe Biden came out here as a so-called savior who said he was going to go out here and deal with many of the issues that he alleged Donald Trump was doing to cause damage to the country. But in less than 11 months, he did more damage to the U.S. overall than Donald Trump ever did. I'd have to say he is the biggest failure of a president because if he, with 47 years of experience in Washington, he has done a worse job than a reality show host who has bankrupted several organizations multiple times. And that's a real embarrassment because, again, your Joe Biden is supposed to have 47 years of experience in Washington, and with 47 years of experience in Washington, you would think he would have been able to handle many of the issues as related to the issues that he proposed as related to the country. Now, in his debates and his town hall meetings, Joe Biden made the promise that he would be able to control COVID 19 and he would end the virus. The virus is exploding more now than it did under President Trump. And his whole solution is to throw up his hands and then put it back in the hands of the states. Now, he said during his campaign that the federal government should be able to handle things. But in the last month, he has said, a couple of days of this year, he has said, I'm going to leave it to the states. That just is an abdication of leadership, but that's a trend with Joe Biden as related to things. He went out here and said he would do a better job on Afghanistan and practically abandon American citizens in that area. He then went out here as related again to the pandemic and introduced a mandate for jabs that is practically going to put the US economy on collapse. With your joker Joe Biden, we have no vision, no direction, and no leadership. And the same thing with your Kamala Harris and your Joe Biden's candidate, which is filled with empty symbolic token positions meant to promote diversity on the outside as flash, but doesn't give us anything substantive. And his legislation is all about things talking about build back better, but we don't really see how he's going to pay for any of this. And that's why people call it build back broke. And when I look at your Joe Biden's first year of being president, he has shown us that he cannot really do anything substantive outside of empty symbolic gestures, like the anti-Asian hate bill or his infrastructure bill, which I believe is going to be filled with a lot of pork. So he's a lot of flash and no substance. And basically, when I look at him, I see a beta male in leadership because beta males, what they want to do is get the job, then they want to copy the other guy. And then as they're copying the other guy, they don't have any original ideas themselves. And whenever they start running into conflicts and obstacles, they get overwhelmed. And then what happens is they start getting frustrated and angry, and then eventually they do what Joe Biden did as related to COVID, and they abdicate their power. Now, the Kamala Harris part of the presidency is even worse. Everybody says her office is in chaos and turmoil, and there's no real organization, no real direction, and the whole office is worse than anything everybody said about Donald Trump. And I'm not a Donald Trump supporter. I never liked Donald Trump, but what's really sad is, again, reality show host had more structure in his office than a man with 47 years of experience. And we see with 47 years of experience, all we got was 1 year of failure as a president. And I shudder to think what we would get in the next 3 years, because we now have what's really embarrassing about 47 years of experience as related to 80 million votes is that with 47 years of experience, we have gotten nothing but failure as related to year one. And he's doing worse than some of the worst presidents in history, which would include your Donald Trump, your Barack Obama, your Jimmy Carter, your Richard Nixon, your Gerald Ford, and your Herbert Hoover, and your Martin Van Buren, I believe. He's
got George W. Bush.
Yeah, George W. Bush. I would throw him in there too.
But you would put Obama as one of the worst presidents ever. What rank would you give him?
I give him, he's right behind Donald Trump as one of the worst.
But
he's number 3.
So you put Biden at number 1?
Biden is number 1. I'd have to say Jimmy Carter is number 2. I'd have to say Barack Obama is number 3. I'd have to say your Gerald Ford is number 4. Richard Nixon is number 5. Your Herbert Hoover is number 6. And I'd have to say, Martin Van Buren is number 7.
I feel you, but I would actually put I guess in my lifetime, Biden he's the worst that I've seen so far in terms of leadership, incompetence. But Andrew Johnson, I think by far was the worst president the United States ever had. He was actually a vehement racist. He came in after your Abraham Lincoln's assassination and undid many of the advancements. In fact, when they had that Special Field Order 15 that William Tecumseh Sherman gave to freed black slaves in Florida and Georgia, the 40 acres and a mule, he reversed that upon coming into office. So he was responsible for that. The only good thing he did was purchase Alaska, but he fought hard against the 14th Amendment, which was going to give black people citizenship and rights. But that's your list. But yeah, man, I was just curious about Obama, but does it have anything to do with just the fact that he didn't give tangibles to blacks? Or
no, your Barack Obama was an overall incompetent president overall. It's not just about the tangibles he didn't give to blacks. It was the complete lack of leadership that he had overall. Barack Obama was a good talker, but he was not a good doer. It was another textbook beta male in that, yes, he could look the part and talk the part and make a whole lot of symbolic gestures, but at the end of the day, he really was not an effective leader. Nobody really respected him, and most people looked at him outside of his ethnicity. They just took him as a joke. So he really was not a very good president overall, because the U.S. economy practically flatlined under his leadership for 8 years, and nobody really grew. The country didn't have any sort of vision or direction. For all of his talk of hope and change, we didn't see much change overall here in America.
all right, hit that like, share, and subscribe button, ladies and gentlemen. If you like the channel, if you like the platform, what we're doing tonight, we're doing a countdown, ladies and gentlemen, of the top 10 topics of 2021, the best of 2021, our countdown, ladies and gentlemen. What's up, Bishop Scott? Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Yes, Andrew Jackson and Andrew Johnson were the worst too. They were they had a bunch of presidents, some who you haven't even heard of, who were bad. But yes, Andrew Johnson, he was a racist motherfucker. Excuse my expression.
Yeah, he was impeached, I think.
Yeah. He was actually, well, presidents get voted to be impeached, but it's up to the Senate to remove them. He was
Yeah.
impeached, but he wasn't
He got
removed.
by one vote.
Right.
What I read.
Right. And he was a Democrat, by the way.
Yeah.
So, of course, Bill Clinton was impeached. He wasn't removed. And Donald Trump was impeached. He was impeached twice, but he was never removed. It was all BS what they were trying to do with that. And that's let's move on, I guess, to number 3. Insurrection at Capitol. Shawn, y'all remember this insurrection that took place? People who stormed the Capitol. I think some of them were crisis actors, myself, because I saw video footage, and I showed this when we had Pastor Bernard Childers come on, and we saw video footage of the police actually opening up the door, or the gate rather, to let people in. You see here, this is a CNN video. I'll just go and play this right quick.
And who we reported was in critical condition earlier today. She has now been pronounced dead. She was pronounced dead at the hospital. And now I'm told that DC police will take the lead in investigating this. We don't have any information about the circumstances of this or the identification of this woman, but there is video circulating that we are not showing right now, a disturbing video of the woman being treated inside, apparently inside the Capitol building today on the Capitol grounds. She is being treated there. She was transported to the hospital and she has been pronounced dead. Well, there have been multiple injuries amid the mayhem today from not only the rioters, but also police officers there who have been injured. Some have been taken to the hospital. We know of at least one. It's the first that we know of from what we've seen unfold there today.
We're going to see some of what our witnesses saw on January 6th.
The ground update here in view.
Multiple capital entries! Multiple capital entries! Take the building! Fuck you, police! We're still taking metal, sharpened objects, missiles to include bottles and rocks, and hand-thrown chemical-grade fireworks. This is now effectively a riot.
1349 hours declaring it a riot.
Okay. Capitol building.
If I give this up, they're going to have to run next to at least this Capitol we can defend. We can defend what we have.
Yeah. The fuck?
Your pins
I repeat, 1033 West from the Capitol. We've been pranked and we've lost our lives.
I'm not gonna play the whole video for time's sake, but I wanted to just go and look at some of that. Of course, that was spliced up uh, from some of the events that took place on Capitol Hill, and especially with the rioters. But some of these people got convicted. Of course, we know that one woman, Ashley Babbitt, who was shot by a black police officer, obviously, and he shot in self-defense. Let's be real. Since they do it with us, hey, she shouldn't have been up there. Why did you resist? Why y'all were rioting? They ask us all these questions, right? They bring all of this crap up, right, Shawn?
Yeah, they do.
But what were your thoughts on what happened and transpired with this?
Well, what
Hey,
happened was when one side of white
I
supremacy
mean, this
gets
is still
upset,
part.
all we saw was the right side of white supremacy getting upset that it lost the left side of white supremacy. And neither side really cared about black people. They were just mad that their side hadn't won. So that's what I saw happen with these riots. And they wanted your Donald Trump to win, but he did not win. So they got mad and they wanted to go out here and change the whole, go and storm the Capitol to so called overthrow the government. But this was a powder keg that both sides had been playing because they had messed with the economy and they messed with people's money. So you had a lot of people who were at a space where they had nothing to lose. And because they felt like they had nothing to lose, that's why they went out here and went on this rampage. And some of them went on this rampage because they felt like they were justified in being able to do so. Because, again, in white supremacist America, they have the notion of I'm white and I say so. And because I'm white, I can do whatever I please. So they have that notion that they can go out here and do whatever they want. And what we saw was just one big tantrum from white supremacists. And that's what we saw going on here because, again, this was not about law. This was not about an election. This was really about white supremacy, this ideology, because white supremacy, as I see it, is dying in this country. And your white supremacists, they see that their whole hold on this country is falling apart. And that's why we're seeing the right side going out here and participating in this type of violence, and the left side just being so insecure that they want to try to control people and every movement of people because they see that the white birth rates are declining. They see that the control over the country is falling apart, and they're trying to take one last grasp at trying to hold and maintain power in the country before the whole institution of white supremacy crumbles and dies and implodes.
I was having a little issue here. I don't know what was going on with internet connection, so I didn't get to hear everything. But yeah, what you were talking about, essentially, Shawn, you saw one side of white supremacy fight another side imploding because they didn't get the verdict that they wanted, or
They
the
didn't get the outcome of election that they wanted.
outcome that they wanted. Right.
Because it's a culture war, and I've seen this with many comic YouTubers. They talk about this culture war and how they want to control the culture here in America. You see, the right side wants to continue with the traditional white supremacy, whereas the far left wants to participate in another type of white supremacy where they passively include their bootlicks, but aggressively continue to push and promote their same old racism. So we have two sides of white supremacy going at each other for control over the country. And what's happening is both of these sides, they're really on know that both sides are on the brink, and they use things like the pandemic to further push their agendas. But the country, really, we're in the middle of a culture war that I believe eventually is going to turn into a civil war.
Yeah. So of course, this is the major topic. We're in the top two now of 2021. Kyle Rittenhouse acquitted. Derek Chauvin convicted. Of course, Derek Chauvin, we know, was the officer who had his knee, or I should say the officer, the scum, who had his knee on the neck of your George Floyd and basically kneeled on George Floyd's neck while he was handcuffed, until he was no longer alive, sadly. And this was done in view of everyone. It was caught on camera. Chauvin, of course, is appealing his decision by the jury. Of course, now with Rittenhouse, you had he was acquitted on all charges just this past October. So this all, and of course with Chauvin killing George Floyd, he was indicted, but also his other counterparts, his officers that were with him, were also indicted as well on various different charges, not being murder. But Chauvin, of course, is sentenced and handcuffed here. And you see the verdict that was placed here, and we'll play that video right quick.
Members of the jury, I will now read the verdicts as they will appear in the permanent records of the 4th Judicial District. State of Minnesota, County of Hennepin, District Court, 4th Judicial District. State of Minnesota Plaintiff versus Derek Michael Chauvin, Defendant. Verdict, Count 1. Court file number 27, CR 20-12646. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to Count 1, unintentional second-degree murder while committing a felony, find the defendant guilty. This verdict agreed to this 20th day of April 2021 at 1:44 p.m. Signed, juror foreperson, juror number 19. Same caption, verdict count 2. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count 2, third-degree murder perpetrating an eminently dangerous act, find the defendant guilty. This verdict agreed to this 20th day of April 2021 at 1:45 p.m. Signed by jury foreperson, juror number 19. Same caption, verdict count 3. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count 3, second-degree manslaughter, culpable negligence, creating an unreasonable risk, find the defendant guilty. This verdict agreed to this 20th day of April 2021 at 1:45 p.m. Jury foreperson 019. Members of the jury, I'm now going to ask you individually if these are your true and correct verdicts. Please respond yes or no. Juror number 2, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 9, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Now, Chauvin was sentenced to 22.5 years in prison. Like I said, he's appealing the verdict. And the opposite of that, of course, we have Kyle Rittenhouse, aka Baby Huey, who has been celebrated since his acquittal after shooting 3 individuals, killing 2. It was found that he acted in self-defense, which it didn't surprise me from looking at the footage. But most people, of course, remember this image of Rittenhouse crying on the witness stand.
I step towards the Duramax, and as I'm stepping forward, I believe his name is now Joshua Zeminski. He steps towards me with a pistol in his hand, and as I'm walking towards to put out the fire, I drop the fire extinguisher and I take a step back.
Okay. When you step back from Mr. Zeminski, what's your plan?
My plan is to get out of that situation and go back north down Sheridan Road to where the car storage lot number 2 was.
And did you get back? Were you able to go in a northerly direction?
I wasn't.
Describe what happened.
Once I take that step back, I look over my shoulder, and Mr. Rosenbaum was now running from my right side. And I was cornered from in front of me with Mr. Zeminski. There were people right there.
Take a deep breath out.
That's what I. That's where I run.
We're gonna just take time for our break anyway. You can just relax for a minute, sir. We're gonna take a break about 10 minutes and.
Correct? So you understand that there's a difference between using deadly force to protect yourself and using it to protect property, correct?
Yes.
Mr. Richards? Your Honor, Mr. Binger is either forgetting the court's rulings or attempting to provoke a mistrial in this matter. He knows he can't go into this, and he's asking the questions. I asked the court to strongly admonish him, and the next time it happens, I'll be asking for a mistrial with prejudice. He's an experienced attorney, and he knows better.
Mr. Binger? First of all, Your Honor, this was the subject of a motion. I'm well aware of that. And the court left the door open.
For me, not for you.
My understanding of
You should have come and asked for reconsideration. You did on the one motion, and in fact, I granted your motion for reconsideration.
That was not my motion.
Excuse me. I did. I granted.
We did not move
That
for
was
reconsideration.
their motion.
We have not filed any
forgive me.
motions to reconsider in this
Forgive me.
case.
That was their motion for reconsideration, which I denied. But I said I denied it, or I indicated a bias towards denial. That's what I did. Held it open with a bias towards denial. Why would you think that made it okay for you without any advance notice to bring this matter before the jury? I was astonished when you began your examination by commenting on the defendant's post-arrest silence. That's basic law. It's been basic law in this country for 40 years, 50 years. I have no idea why you would do something like that. And it gives, I'll leave it at that. So I don't know what you're up to.
May I respond?
Yes.
We filed another acts motion on this exact issue because in my mind, and I argue this, it is identical to what was going on the night of August 25th, in the sense that the defendant was using this exact same weapon. He was using it in a manner to try and protect property.
No, he wasn't.
Your Honor, with all due respect,
I'm not going to rehash the motion. That's absolutely untrue. No. Your arguments of record, my comments are of record, and why I ruled as I did is of record. There's nothing that I heard in this trial to suggest anything's changed, even if you're correct in your assumption that you know more than I did at the time. You should have come to the court and say, I want to go into this.
So that was Judge Bruce Schroeder, who you were talking about, Shawn, and complaining. Of course, Rittenhouse was acquitted. And what are your thoughts, obviously, between Rittenhouse and what happened with Derek Chauvin, ladies and gentlemen, and Shawn, particularly yours?
Well, with Derek Chauvin, we saw your white supremacists with their back to the wall as related to the murder of George Floyd, and they decided to give us a sacrifice so that they could go back to business as usual. And we saw them go back to business as usual with your Kyle Rittenhouse. Now, your Kyle Rittenhouse, I believe, went down to Kenosha, Wisconsin to participate in the mass shooting of Black people. I believe your Kyle Rittenhouse was not interested in protecting so-called property that he didn't even own. What he wanted to do was use that as a cover so that he could go down and murder as many Black people as possible. Unfortunately, he ran into some white leftists and he wound up killing 2 white leftists and injuring another. Now, your Kyle Rittenhouse, because he was a white male and white supremacy desperately wanted a win after taking an L with Derek Chauvin, wanted to get back to business as usual. Excuse me. So what they did was they gave us this farce of a trial that basically was like watching WWE, where they went out of their way to go out here and give Kyle Rittenhouse every benefit of a doubt, practically allowing him to pick his own jury and have the judge as his friend. And as they went out here and rigged up this case, they made it so they could go out here and give themselves a win at the expense of Kyle Rittenhouse. And then they wanted to go out here and parade this little clown as a star. So that's what they wanted to do with Kyle Rittenhouse. because they had taken a huge loss with Derek Chauvin as related to him being sacrificed to the penitentiary where he was looking to be turned out by Bubba and Tiny for Little Debbie snack cakes, ramen noodles, and cups of coffee. But he decided to get out of that by going out here and pleading guilty to the federal charges so he could sit in solitary confinement at a federal prison where he thought he would be able to avoid having to deal with Bubba and Tiny and all of those people he had practically sent to state prison. So what we see is a yin to a yang with white supremacy. They saw that they had to take an L with your Derek Chauvin, and they wanted to get it back with Kyle Rittenhouse. And now that they've gotten it back, they're trying to turn Kyle Rittenhouse into white supremacy's rock star before they eventually wind up forgetting about him and fading into obscurity, where he'll soon find out that white supremacy always breaks its toys, whether they be black or they be white.
Yes, that's Ben Crump there. It's like he's been the face of all of these families that get, he's been the face of all of these families who's representing these families who have lost their loved one to police violence.
Yeah.
A lot of people are frustrated with that. I
Because
know
he's an ambulance he's a casket chaser, as I call
of. Ben Crump. All right, so that was our second topic, but Derek Chauvin was sentenced to 22 and a half years in prison. As I stated earlier, he's appealing this, and then Kyle Rittenhouse, of course, was acquitted. We do have an honorable mention. I should mention this before we move on to our number one, and that is the following, ladies and gentlemen. We lost some good people in 2021, individuals who were groundbreaking, individuals who had an impact on our lives, and I want to just do a tribute to them. So this is the honorable mention segment of our show, ladies and gentlemen, that didn't make the topic, and that is rest in peace to Melvin Van Peebles, Clarence Williams III, John Madden, who just passed away just 2 days ago. We have done videos on these gentlemen. I talked about John Madden, obviously, a couple of days ago. Shawn, I don't take you for a gamer.
I did buy Madden 95 and 96. I bought 96. My cousin bought Madden 96, and I bought Madden 97 because we liked that game so much. We used to play it together. I've bought some, and I wanted to buy more Madden games. Unfortunately, my employment situation never was that great. But I remember John Madden. He's a legend as related to sports. He was the coach of the Super Bowl champion LA. I think the LA or Oakland Raiders. He was an Oakland Raiders head coach, and he went on to have a great career doing broadcasting. What my cousin and I remember him from was NFL on Fox, and he was one of the great broadcasters as related to the game. He was a great pitch man, and he was a really, just everybody says, just a wonderful guy all around. And he had a love and a passion for football, and that love and passion for football showed in every game that he coached and every game that he went out here and covered the broadcast on.
Of course, and especially when he covered the broadcast, everybody enjoyed it. You know, I made a big bull.
Yeah.
You know, he throws good. There's a touchdown. Yeah, he simplified the game for everybody. So everybody I know loved John Madden. He's also a great some of his calls.
Bobby Johnson had dropped down at the last second. Somebody threw a shoe.
Great Pat Summerall.
It's a pigeon on the field. How did he get in there?
He wanted to get down there. He couldn't get a seat. He tried to get up above, and there was no place. The only place there was only that he could land is right there.
He was in the middle of the action. I thought the shoe came off.
I'll tell you, there's the throw. Johnson really has him beat. And there's the pigeon was right there where Johnson was running. I think there were two pigeons there. Johnson's trying to run a post pattern, and the pigeon's getting away.
And they're still there.
That's the old thing. You can run down to the pigeon and turn left.
Goodyear blimps log over 100,000 miles every year, covering major sporting
And of
events.
course, John Madden had
They
a
had a
chance to
beautiful
work for
day
like 4 different networks.
today.
Yeah.
Enjoying it up
Broadcasting
there, guys?
partner, of course, Pat
Now
Summerall.
they're inside now, but inside isn't in the middle or on top. That's underneath, I think, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
And if you look at that thing, yeah, I never.
But I remember this mainly because Frank Caliendo.
I mean, things start to get. You want to be in a funny place, and this is one of those funny places. And if for another place it's not as funny, think, hey, why am I that place? What I wanted to be was in a funny place, and boom, right now, Dave.
Good. Thank you.
Of course, we lost to the great Melvin Van Peebles, who was the creator of Sweet Sweetback's Badass Song. That actually saved Hollywood back in the 70s because at that time, as you promoted, Shawn, Hollywood was losing money. In fact, the major studios were being bought out by giant corporations. And
Fans are mourning the
Peebles
loss of groundbreaking filmmaker, musician,
ushered in
and
a ground.
playwright Melvin
He is
Van
the
Peebles.
godfather of modern
Man
black
known
cinema.
as the godfather of modern
Cinema.
black
Yeah,
cinema
cinema.
died Tuesday at his home in New York City.
Godfather of
He
modern
is
black
credited
cinema.
for ushering in the blaxploitation era of cinema that told black stories in the 1970s and influenced a generation of filmmakers. He was also the father of actor Mario Van Peebles. Melvin was 89 years old. If you are a fan of Quentin Tarantino, if you're a fan of Spike Lee, if you're a fan of the late John Singleton or Barry Jenkins, modern cinema owes a huge, huge debt of gratitude.
Please don't marry Barry Jenkins. He does destructive movies. He's the one that did Moonlight. Of course, we got our brother. We also lost the late Clarence Williams III, who passed away this month. And Clarence Williams was one of the best, of course, the star of the Mod Squad. But he also, as we remember him, he did a movie called Tales from the Hood, where he played the funeral director, Mr. Sims, aka Satan. If you've seen the movie, sorry, I didn't say spoiler alert, but everybody should have seen it by now. But Mr. Williams was 81 years old, if I'm not mistaken, at the time of his passing.
All I hear is a lot of noise. I don't see any plays being made. Now, come on, guys, let's hop to it if you want to do it at all. Let's go. Okay, now hold it. Hey, Eddie, come here. John, will you get off my back? I'm gonna stay on your back till you learn one thing. You gotta stay with your man. You mismatches like this and he'll score on you all night. You gotta stay with your man.
But what am I supposed to do? Now this middle, he's all over me. Cream you. You wouldn't know how, you big clown.
Eddie! Hey, cool it, guys. Cool it. I said cool it.
And say every day was ready. So, yeah, Shawn, I never saw the Mod Squad before, but
I've seen several episodes. Very good show.
I have not, but of course, this is my favorite of Clarence Williams III. Like I pointed out, he also was the father in Purple Rain with Prince. But this is what I remember.
Ain't no funeral.
Y'all better get that copyright disclaimer for me.
The Thunderdome. Neither.
I got it right there.
Welcome to hell.
This freaked me out as a kid.
Welcome to hell, motherfucker.
This one, not so much.
Oh, that was one of the worst movies of all time. That was a mockery of that classic.
Yeah, you're talking about Tales from the Hood too. Did you see 3?
I didn't see. After 2, I had enough. Shame that they did Keith David.
Well, actually, 3. The only thing that was funny, I did think was funny when the giant Gollywog came out, but it wasn't that good of a movie.
Welcome to hell.
So, yeah. But Shawn, what do you have to say about Melvin Van Peebles and Clarence Williams III?
Well, I'm sorry that these two great legends are gone. Melvin Van Peebles practically was one of the architects of really saving Hollywood, and he also introduced Black Hollywood. He actually was one of the architects who built Black Hollywood by just going out here and making Sweet Sweetback song. I mean, we lost a true legend and an icon. And the same thing for Clarence Williams III. Clarence Williams III was a truly great actor with amazing range and great skill. And I was glad to have been blessed to have been able to watch some of his performances, like Tales from the Hood and The Mod Squad. And both of these men have Bill Cosby in common. If it wasn't for Bill Cosby helping out your Melvin Van Peebles, we would not have any black film industry right now. And if it wasn't for him giving a recommendation for your Clarence Williams III, he would not have had the career that he had. So both of these men, they were blessed to have known Bill Cosby. And I thank God that Bill Cosby was there to help both of those men out because it helped build the overall black entertainment industry. I'm sorry to see both of these men gone, but they'd done a lot of great things, and I hope that we continue to build on their great legacies.
I'm actually glad you brought that up, Shawn, because it is time for our number one topic, and I guess why not, huh? I'm petty. Of course, this was the number one topic for me. I called it. I said that it was going to get overturned. It had to be overturned because this was an egregious conviction. It was in a kangaroo court. It was done by a corrupt judge and foolish district attorney who ran on a campaign promise of getting Bill Cosby, and the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania saw that. So we're gonna play this video so we can watch the salt come out of these fools' eyes, especially just listen to the news coverage that they're gonna give. I haven't even listened to it, but I know it's going to be biased.
Good evening, and it's great to have you with us on this busy Wednesday night. I'm Lizzie Davis, in for David. We begin with that bombshell news on comedian Bill Cosby. Pennsylvania Supreme Court has overturned his sex assault conviction, and tonight he is a free man. Just hours after the court's ruling, Cosby coming before cameras outside of his home, celebrating his release after serving more than 2 years of a 3 to 10 year prison sentence. Cosby clearly elated to be back home. The man, once known as America's Dad, last seen in public a little over 2 years ago after his conviction. Dozens of women came forward to accuse him, but he was convicted for assaulting just one, Andrea Constand. Cosby remained defiant, never acknowledging wrongdoing, passing up the opportunity for parole, refusing to participate in sex offender programs. Today, the High Court vacated his conviction, saying that he was a victim of a coercive bait and switch by prosecutors. ABC's Ariel Reshef leads us off with the dramatic turn of events.
Tonight, Bill Cosby, a free man, back home, released from a Pennsylvania prison just 12 days shy of his 84th birthday. Moments ago, the comedian speaking to Lindsay by phone.
And nobody had the sense to say, wait 1 second, this doesn't match up with the truth. This is not what I was taught in college. This is not what I was taught at home, etc., etc.
His 2018 sexual assault conviction overturned today by the Pennsylvania Supreme Court after an appeal. Justices ruling he should not have been prosecuted because of a deal with former DA Bruce Castor that he would not be charged if he agreed to testify in a 2005 civil suit brought by accuser Andrea Constand. Their 79-page decision stating, in accordance with the advice of his attorneys, Cosby relied upon DA Castor's public announcement that he would not be prosecuted. But Castor's successor, Kevin Steele, used Cosby's testimony as a key piece of evidence more than a decade later to file criminal charges against the comedian. Cosby later convicted of drugging and sexually assaulting Constand, the court also barring further prosecution against Cosby in the Constand case. Felicia Rashad, who played Cosby's TV wife for more than a decade, and his longtime friend tweeting, "Finally, a terrible wrong has been righted, a miscarriage of justice corrected." While Cosby always maintained his innocence, he was dogged by accusations of drugging and sexual assault from dozens of women. Lindsay sat down with him in 2015 before the Pennsylvania prosecutor brought charges as he prepared to speak to students about the importance of education.
Are you concerned at all that, given the allegations, that may overshadow your message?
It's interesting. This is a situation that's unprecedented. My family, my friends, I have been in this business 52 years, and I've never seen anything like this.
Pause this first for a second. Let me pause this. Now look at his eyes. You can tell that Dr. Cosby, this was in May of 2015, Shawn.
Yeah.
He's losing his eyesight.
He's not focusing. So
He's not even focusing. He's not looking into, he looks like he's looking into the camera in one eye and the other has it on the woman, but he's completely blind.
yeah.
And yet, I mean, you can see the discoloration in it.
Yeah, you can see the discoloration in his eyes.
I'm pointing that out because under American law, you have a right to confront your accuser. What sense does it make to bring a trial 10 years later after you agreed not to prosecute it, actually longer than 10 years, and confrontation clause, he can't even know who his accuser is. If that's the accuser, if that's the accused, if that's what she looks like, what happened? The right to a speedy trial. Let me finish playing a video.
And reality is the situation. And I can't speak.
The news of his release today leaving many of his accusers stunned and angry.
I'm concerned that women will think that they shouldn't come forward. I can tell you, as somebody who did, it was challenging, it was scary. There were times when I was called horrible names for saying what I said about him.
And supermodel Beverly Johnson saying in a statement exclusive to ABC News, "Today is a reminder that the fight is far from over. We must continue to support and encourage women who have endured."
Liar. Okay, I shouldn't get emotional with this. Excuse me. But this woman who framed her own, this guy, Chris North, who's in the news already showing up in New York.
I know.
Yeah.
Now he's dealing with allegations from her.
Right. She actually accused him back in the 90s, and he fought those because it got exposed that she was lying about stuff. Even his friends came to his defense. But your Beverly Johnson saying a fight is not. This is what we're talking about. Yeah, she's accusing him of beating her and so forth, but she has not gone out and did a tell-all like she did. I'm sure, I haven't read her book, but I'm pretty sure Chris North, they didn't make the news. She didn't go on ABC talking about this like she did with Cosby. Not one bit. But let's go ahead and finish.
Sexual trauma and abuse to come forward despite this outcome.
Ariel joins us now live from Elkins Park, where Bill Cosby is back at home tonight. Ariel, his accuser, Andrew Cuomo, has just released a statement with her lawyers. Tell us about their reaction.
Yeah, Andrea Constant and her legal team have called this decision disappointing and say it's of concern because it could discourage future victims of sexual assault from coming forward and seeking justice. Lindsay?
Ariel, thanks so much. And now let's bring in ABC News chief legal analyst Dan Abrams. And Dan, I want to read this quote from the DA, Kevin Steele. He said, Cosby is free on a procedural issue that is irrelevant to the facts of the crime. Explain what that means and how this happened.
I told you it's going to be biased.
Yeah, the Supreme Court here made no judgment about the facts of the case, the underlying truth of what happened here. What they did say is that assurance made by the DA, the first DA, led Bill Cosby to answer questions in the civil case that he wouldn't have otherwise answered. He might have invoked his right against self-incrimination. New DA comes in, says, we want to use those statements, uses the statements, and the Pennsylvania Supreme Court ruled that the entirety of that was fundamentally unfair, so much so that they weren't going to just order a new trial. They were literally going to dismiss the charges and say that Bill Cosby cannot be retried again for these charges.
And many people are now wondering if this is the end of the road. Does this bar any future prosecution of Cosby?
It certainly bars any future prosecution with regard to these facts. And this was the last big case, meaning this is the one that came in right under the statute of limitations. So it seems that
that's not, and that in of itself is not true, because if you listen to the interview I did with Tom Mesereau, he said it was even outside the statute of limitations.
Bill Cosby will not be prosecuted criminally for any of these cases.
Dan Abrams, our thanks.
The judge, what happened with that, the judge, Stephen T. O'Neill, would not even have a hearing. He would not have a hearing on the facts as to whether or not the statute of limitations had occurred. They filed a motion. They presented their brief. He did not want to hear it. He sat on it, said, no, I'm not hearing it. He denied it. But I want to, hold on, let me see if I can get the other picture. But, you know, it didn't surprise me. I told you they were going to be biased with the reporter. You could tell. But this is when, let me see, this is Bill Cosby when he spoke with his legal team.
White House with Nixon. Nixon put him on a communist list in the 60s, along with so many other great names like Dick Gregory, James Fonda. How could a man who was being watched by the FBI every day be bringing drugs and women in the 60s and 70s, especially a black man? Today, innocence came to Mr. Cosby with the help of these wonderful attorneys. To his right, you will see Ms. Jennifer Blungeen. She argued the appeal. To my left, you see Brian Perry. To Brian's left, Ashley Cohen. And then you have Ellie Cohen. These are women and men who from all walks of life. As I said earlier, James Brown made a song, "It's a Man's World. There would be nothing without a woman and girl." Mrs. Cosby was that woman. 57 years, the queen, the matriarch of the Cosby family, who fought for his vindication, who said he would be vindicated. And today, on this hot day, this is a hot verdict for us that we will forever cherish. Because we got one of the greatest, or the greatest entertainer alive today. Mr. Bill Cosby, this great American citizen, this American treasure, this icon, with us today. Ms. Bungie?
Yes, we are thrilled to have Mr. Cosby home. He served 3 years of an unjust sentence. He did it with dignity and principle, and he was a mentor to other inmates. He was really, as I say, doing the time. The time was not doing him. He's a classy man. And I want to say thank you. We have every right to rely on the prosecutor's word. And they pulled the rug out from underneath him because of public opinion, and that is not how our system should operate. Absolutely. When that happens, there cannot be a just sentence. And if there had been a just verdict and a just sentence, we wouldn't be here fighting.
Now, they're not showing Bill's lawyers. They're not showing Jennifer Blungeen. She argued the appeal.
Very proud to be part of this case. We always thought that eventually this is where it would end up. Cosby and I had many talks over the last couple of years. I predicted it, and we're here. It's a good day for the Cosby family.
Mr. Cosby, how does it feel to be home? Well, he is extremely happy to be home. He looks forward to reuniting with his wife.
I just want to fast forward because I don't want to keep Shawn to him, but when he puts up the deuces and walks home, oh, I was so happy.
All right, members of the Cosby legal team, his spokesman, Andrew Wyatt, and
it's only fitting that it's on NBC. He turns his back and tells him, "Kiss my ass." Number one, Shawn, what do you think of my topic being number one? Do you think I'm king of petty?
I think it's the perfect topic for number one because this was a reversal of one of the greatest travesties of justice in recent history. Mr. Cosby was railroaded by a malicious prosecutor with an obsession that was based on his own personal bias, not based on the law. And I was glad to see this travesty of justice reversed by the Pennsylvania Supreme Court because the whole case that he made was based on that affidavit, which he was told by Bruce Castor would not be used. And it was that whole affidavit that was the thing that led to the conviction being overturned. And when I look at this whole case as related to Mr. Cosby, again, it was a great travesty of justice because your Bill Cosby was never given due process under the law because his case was tried in the court of public opinion. And most people in the court of public opinion wanted to demonize Mr. Cosby as a black brute, but the facts as related to the evidence show that he was not a black brute at all. It just showed that we had a obsessed, as I see it, prosecutor who clearly had no sense of ethics or no sense of morals as he zealously went out here and tried to maliciously prosecute Mr. Cosby for a crime he did not commit. And he tried to railroad him through the criminal justice system with the assistance of a judge who really did not want to go out here and follow the law. He was going on his feelings as related to things. So this kangaroo court wound up getting taken care of and dealt with by the Supreme Court, which dealt with this case and its judicial errors. And we got a just verdict, not a just verdict, the conviction overturned. And Mr. Cosby was released from prison, and all charges were dropped as related to him. And he cannot be tried for these charges again, which is the best thing out of this overall. So this zealous prosecutor, Kevin Steele, can't go after him. So this story is one that I was glad to see come to a positive end because so many black men out here wind up getting railroaded through the criminal justice system on these trumped up charges by women like your Andrea Constant and women of the Me Too movement. And the media will sensationalize the punishment these men receive, but it won't ever talk about the facts as related to the case when they find out that the women were lying or the evidence does not match what was alleged in the sensationalized cases. So when I look at this case, I'm glad to see Mr. Cosby free. I'm glad to see him with his family, and I'm glad to see him free in his last days because this travesty of justice has been dealt with. And I believe that this was the right thing to do because Mr. Cosby, he was never given a chance to get his case tried with due process under the law, and he was never allowed to be able to prove himself innocent at all until he did the appeals. And I'm glad to see him free and out here and able to live the rest of his life without ever having to deal with anything as related to these kind of charges again.
Well, unfortunately, he is facing, I know, some civil suits still, stuff that's going on out. Of course, we know that Lily Bernard
Yeah.
in New Jersey. We have the Playboy Mansion issue with Gloria Allred out in California that he
I
is
believe
dealt
that those cases aren't going to last too long because I'm seeing a lot of these cases getting dismissed, and I see a lot of them not really going that
They were
far.
allowed to move forward, though.
Yeah, they were allowed to move forward, but I don't see them moving much further because it's a preponderance of the evidence, and I don't really think that there's much there if you once you start putting hard facts to it.
Right. Well, it's a lower burden of proof when it's preponderance of the evidence. So
Yeah.
the plaintiff still has to prove their case, but it is not the same as a criminal case where it's innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Uh, and there's a reason why we have that in our legal system is to prevent what Mr. Cosby went through from ever happening. And unfortunately, he was put through that by these two punks. Hold on, let me put their picture up. Let's put a picture up of Kevin Steele. Shout out to Nick the Hat. who wrote this, but that's Kevin Steele right there. You see on the mouse. That is Stephen T. O'Neill, the judge who went after Cosby. That's the black prosecutor that was part of that team. Of course, you see Gloria Allred, you see Andrea Constant in this picture, and that's Bill Cosby there. I don't know who this individual is. But, you know, they knew it was not an airtight case. They knew it was screwed up from the beginning. But this was fitting, ladies and gentlemen, to have it as the #1 topic because, of course, coming soon, and I guess this is a great way to segue into this, I have my book that is set to be released very soon. You tune in to this page, this Facebook page, ladies and gentlemen. It is The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania versus William H. Cosby Jr., the destruction of due process in the United States, that is available soon. You all, it will be available on Amazon Kindle soon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm actually putting the finishing touches on it this weekend, and this week, through with my legal team, I'm going to release it come hell or high water. This is the link here. The photos, oh, I'm sorry. I thought you all could see the photos. My mistake. Let me, because I didn't hit the page. Hold on. These are the photos here. Let me go back. Okay. So that's Kevin Steele. That's Stephen T. O'Neill. This is the judge. That's Andrea Constant. That's Gloria Allred. This is the black prosecutor that was part of the legal team. Can't remember her name. Of course, that's Bill Cosby. This is Bruce Castor, the original prosecutor. And these are your characters. But go to this Facebook page, this link, ladies and gentlemen, where you can read more. In fact, let me pull up the link here. This is Facebook. This is where you got to go to get new events. I will have a live party when we release the book. I'm actually going to be doing a party, and I will put that announcement up soon because I will be the finishing touches are done actually on it, more or less, and it will be ready. Shawn has already read it. He enjoys it. Has enjoyed it, and Shawn has praised it. So shout out to him. And it's fitting we talk about this and close on this, man. So this was 2021 in a nutshell, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna end it with on a positive note. You know, I'm praying for everyone that we have a safe New Year's. I don't know what you all will be doing. Shawn, are you going to be home?
Yeah, I'm going to be home. I'm working on the woman crisis right now, and I'm also working on a new John Haynes book as well. So I'm hoping to get I'm starting to get some momentum on the woman crisis, and I'm hoping to get this book ready for 2022. This is the companion to the man crisis. People have been waiting for this book for some time, and I'm hoping to get this book out this year, along with the John Haynes books that I'm working on, and the ISIS and Epstein books too.
Someone wrote, why do the white supremacists, this is Computer Robots. What's up, Computer Robots? Happy New Year. Merry Christmas. Why do they play the stupid game that they know they're going to lose on if they're still trying to railroad Bill Cosby in courts? Well, it's very simple. They are trying to bankrupt Bill Cosby. You have to think about this. And Shawn, you know, I know this better as an attorney. It costs money to litigate things, even to defend stuff. As a lawyer, you know, especially if you're making billable hours, you know, and this is nothing wrong with it, but you get paid what you're worth. Your expertise, your time, you're putting in the case, your travel, you're billing all of that. So you have 40 or 50 or 60, I believe, case plus women who allege different things that have said to have happened. Some have filed their lawsuits, others have not. The lawsuits you get served with, you have to file a response. Otherwise, if you don't file a response, you're faced with what's called a default action or default judgment because you were properly served with the documents, and because you failed to answer, they'll automatically just grant the motion. It happened with Cuba Gooding Jr. With his allegations. He was accused of, and he has not even gone to trial in his case, Shawn, as of yet.
He's been held up in limbo, and they like to do that. The white supremacists love to do these type of things to really go after a black man's money. And they do this because if they know if they destroy your finances, you won't have any wealth to pass on, and you won't have any wealth to pass on to your heirs so that you can have a legacy. The main reason why they're going after Bill Cosby is one, to whittle down his $400 million net worth so that he won't have any wealth to pass on to his family. And two, they want to tarnish and destroy Bill Cosby's legacy. So what they want to do is make it where they can say, oh, Bill Cosby did these sort of sordid and sexually deviant things and make him into a bad guy to take away from his legacy and take away from the fact that Mr. Cosby did a lot of great good. They want to put a lot of bad on his name so that you won't look at the good and see the hero that he truly was to the black community and to the black entertainment industry. Excuse me. Mr. Cosby put in a lot of great work to help black people. And what your white supremacy wants to do is tarnish Mr. Cosby's name so that we won't see all of the great, again, works and achievements he has done towards helping black people. So that's really what they want to do with these frivolous lawsuits as related to these kind of alleged sexual assaults and civil trials and these other criminal trials. They want to make it where you don't look positively at Mr. Cosby and everything, because they know that as people pass away, people usually aren't going to be around to tell you what the real story is. And what white supremacy wants to do is try to demonize his name the same way they did with Jack Johnson and the same way that they do with many other black people, like some people with Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. They try to come out here with these salacious stories.
Leaves this business clean, as Eddie Griffin said.
Yeah.
I said no black man leaves this business clean. You
No,
have
they
to have
don't.
by your name. I mean, it's just like, my goodness, even Sammy Davis Jr. has an asterisk by his name. Didn't pay taxes. Red
Yeah,
Fox.
they look for anything to make you into a bad guy so that people won't look at you and admire you. But meanwhile, you have white guys who have done all sorts of evil, and they tell us that they're heroes every day as a part of American history.
Right. Yes, indeed. So yeah, to answer your question, brother Kamel, that's the main reason why that's happening. It's about money. It's about bleeding him dry. Remember, Bill Cosby and his wife actually have a piece of property out in Massachusetts that's worth millions. They actually want to put a pipeline running across that property. It's not just them. I won't say too much because you got to read the book that's coming out, and we talk about it. But that is essentially what it is. It's about bleeding them dry. They do it all the time. Michael Jackson, they did too. I mean, Michael has been dead now for 12 years, sadly, and we're still talking about whether he did it or not, even though he was acquitted. So that's essentially what it boils down to. But we're going to wrap this up because I know Shawn's got to get busy with some other stuff, and I got some more work to do too. But this has been a fun ride, ladies and gentlemen. This whole year of doing live streams and videos, I promised you more was coming. Like I said, we are happy to announce that I have a podcast, a new podcast that I'm coming out with brother Albert Lanier Jr. We're going to be doing true crimes, especially within the Black community. It's going to be called Unsolved Mysteries. We're working on that right now. That's the pilot of it. I can just tell you. But it's going to be big. We're talking about different things like that, and I'm pushing forward with it. But and Shawn has his mouth open in amazement.
No, it's just I have a sinus issue.
Oh.
But that sounds like a very fascinating show, and I can't wait to hear it myself on podcast. So, you send me a link, I'll definitely listen to it.
Most definitely. We just finished filming one episode. We'll do another pretty soon. So that's in the works. And I just want to comment and say too, let me edit what I said. Also, Paul Mooney, the great comedian who also passed away this year in 2021. We were saddened to hear about his passing. You know, Shawn, with Paul Mooney's passing, Bill Cosby is actually the last of a generation that broke new ground in America. That generation of black comedians who were able to, even before, well, he was even before Paul Mooney. Paul Mooney was more sat underground, but with Bill Cosby, he is the last of that generation, especially that broke new ground in the 1960s, appearing on The Tonight Show and Ed Sullivan and countless other programs, being the first black man on mainstream television to win an Emmy with I Spy. So that was part of it. But yeah, a legacy. But Paul Mooney, of course, I just will say, may he rest in power. Great comedian, one of the best. I had a chance to see him live. I actually took a picture with him and Dick Gregory. I have their autographs. So that's something that'll stick with me for a long time. But I have nothing more, Shawn. You want to do a plug-in? You can right now.
All right. I'm going to talk about the SJS Direct 2021 books, and those include John Haynes, Taking Care of Business, ISIS, Revenge of the Cyber Goddess, E-Steam Cancelication, and Stop Simping in Cyberspace. All 4 of these books are available on Amazon.com right now, with the over 75 plus titles on the SJS Direct imprint. And if you want to pick up some positive black fiction or some great nonfiction, head over to Amazon.com and pick up the titles of the SJS Direct imprint in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find many of these books on other online booksellers like Smashwords, the iBook Store, and Google Play.
All right. I need you all to do something for me too, guys. I need you to please support me by going to my Cash App. Drop something in the link, please, for 2021, if you can, the end of 2021, by supporting the Cash App, the Google Pay at the emails there, and at PayPal, ladies and gentlemen. We also do Zelle, which is the phone number at the bottom. I thank you all, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate the love and support you've given me. And you ain't seen nothing yet. 2022 is going to be even better. We've had our ups and downs this year, but I think that we're going to continue to push forward. We will be successful. And I think and owe it all to you. And I don't think, I know I owe all of my success to my fans, my people who come on here. Thank you for your love and support. Thank you to my guests who have been on here. From Pastor Childress to Dr. Carmen Johnson, Brother Bernard, Bishop Gerald Scott, Judge Joe Brown, Nicole's View from Nicole Lewis, a host of others, even Harvey Superboy. But of course, I owe Shawn a great deal as well, because Shawn comes here every Thursday to help me out, and we flow well. So I thank you. And thank you, Al Lanier Jr., too, who's out there. But Shawn, you have a blessed and prosperous new year. I hope 2022 will bring you even more success.
All right. I'm hoping that happens as well. I hope you have success as well. Thank you for having me on the show.
Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, of course, you all can support me. Another way you can support me, ladies and gentlemen, is going to our Spotify. Well, first off, going to Naughty'sCreoleBlends.com. Get your Creole seasoning just in time for Mardi Gras for the holidays. Shawn just got his. Try it on chicken, meat, or fish. Naughty's goes great with every dish. Also, ladies and gentlemen, check out and download Video Soul. That is our latest single on Spotify. I appreciate it if you stream it. But if you go to Apple or Amazon and purchase those, that would be even better. And last but not least, we have Got to Get On Up, which is our lead-in song for the night. We start with it, we leave with it, ladies and gentlemen, as we have gotten on down. It is now time to get on up and get out of here. Thank you, Shawn. Happy New Year, everyone. And I will see you all in 2022. I'll holla. Peace.
Girl, come on. Gotta dance to the beat, because on the dance floor is where we'll meet. Show me what you got. Gotta feel the groove.
Feel the groove, get on the floor.
Get on up. Right now the party's wasted. There's nothing much to do. But once the groove gets started, tell me, what do you have to lose? Just look into my eyes, girl, as we glide across the room. And what to my surprise now, the beat takes hold of you. Now if you're feeling like I'm feeling, so come on baby, let's start dealing. Time to get this party started. Ain't no time for the broken hearted. When the rhythm takes hold of you, there's only one thing left to do. Cause the beat is really grooving. Time to get your body moving. Gotta get on up and move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, it's time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up. Tell the DJ play the whispers. Rock steady in the mood. Put on earth, wind and fire. Tonight we're gonna groove. Show me how you do the four corners. Electric slide or two. Hit the bus stop or do the bunny hop, baby. It's really up to you. Now if you're feeling like I'm feeling, so come on baby, let's start dealing. Time to get this party started. Ain't no time for the broken hearted. When the rhythm takes hold of you, there's only one thing left to do. Cause the beat is really grooving. Time to get your body moving. Gotta get on up and move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, it's time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up. Now 2020 hasn't been the best year of all times. We've been dealing with death, the pandemic, racism, bad policing, and all the bad rhymes. But like Uncle Snoop once said, if you breathe and you achieve. And so if you're ready, I need you all to get on up. Are you ready? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Get your butt on the dance floor. 5 and 6 and 7, 8. This jam we appreciate. We're gonna slide and step on the beat. On the dance floor is where we'll be. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up and move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, it's time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up, baby. Yeah, gotta get on up. Come on, baby, gotta get on up, baby. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up.
I personally just want to say before Gavin closes the show that 2022 has been good. I was able to get more Afro sheen for my bald head. Look at it now. Why you not looking? Why my head not on the screen? Why Charles Barkley's head is not on the screen, Ernie? Well, Charles, you don't have it turned on. The camera is not turned on clearly so everyone can see that shiny bald head. That's terrible. Yeah, Charles Barkley, your ass is crazy.